Oh, you weren't expecting to see this face, were you? I feel like I did it the last time that I had to take over for Christian, on like the main mic or whatever. I feel like I said the exact same thing, which is fine because, he's busy. He's got things to do. So, of course, he let the kids play yet again. Coy's here. That's what's up. Brett's on the ones and twos.
We're in house. I like that we're in.
We're in house.
We're in house. This is great. Like, we're not zooming.
No.
Like, we're in the space.
We're here.
It's great.
We're here.
In house, in studio, no Christian.
Absolutely.
No rules.
But, well, that's not true. We do have to do a few things. Like, first of all, I do have to point out the fact that we're on Spotify. Right there. You see it. We're on Spotify. So be sure, if you're listening to it on Spotify, make sure you're following. Make sure you're giving them reviews, man. Make sure you let your fam know. We're also on Apple, all of the podcast channels. We're on all of them. So, hit us up, show us some love, 5 stars, all that good stuff. We also got merch. Got them shirts, that Black Knight. See, I wonder if Coy's going to say anything remotely off base since Christian's not here. I feel like he's going to rein it in just a little bit, but you got the Black Knight. You don't know Ish, Sith Council, show some class, the Top Gun guy, all the classics, man. And, of course, the Capes and Cowls. So show a little class, grab some merch for sure. And, of course, we have the Patreon. This is a great way to support the show. If you're trying to figure out how to support the show, you get a lot of perks depending on what tier you choose, including the rewatches and one-on-ones with Christian and Brett and Kate's Playdate, all that good stuff. So make sure you join the Patreon. And finally, if you just I'm not spending money on you clowns, the least you could do is subscribe to the channel, man. It don't cost you nothing but a quick click. We're trying to get to 70K, and we are so close. But for now, we gonna talk about everybody's favorite vigilante. And no, I'm not talking about Batman. I'm talking about the one that may be a gigolo in one universe and a gun-toting, vengeful mother F in another. So let's do it, baby. Capes and Cowls, we on. Sickest intro in the biz. I'm Winston A Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blurred, holding down the host chair for today. But of course, I'm here with my partner in crime, the Spider-Man or the Deadpool to my Spider-Man. Wow, Miles and Deadpool have got to be like a really weird combo.
I can't even imagine them meeting. Like, how uncomfortable would that be for everybody? Because he's like, well, you're a little Spidey, huh?
Yeah.
And then Miles is like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, I don't think Miles would even want to meet Wade.
Well, especially because Miles, I know, is bi. And
right.
So I'm sure Deadpool would lean into that.
He would hit on him
be like,
so hardcore and be like, I'm just turned 21.
Just be
because they aged him up recent, and that'd be a little less uncomfortable.
Just be
but
easy.
Like,
do not Leo this.
Because Wade hits on Peter Spider-Man all the time.
So
like
all the time.
Miles in that like Morse felt suit, his colors, the black and red, no blue, a little bit of popping. We're talking about this today. I'm very excited.
I can't believe that's how we decided to start the show.
Yeah,
but
a little bit of hitting on Miles, a little commentary,
a little bit.
He's Peter's Black Cat in the comics right now. There's a little Felicia action going on, and I always liked their relationship because he always she always seemed to me like representation of his letting go of responsibility, like the freedom of what you can be as a vigilante. So after all these like horrible things that happened to Peter, I always thought it'd be interesting if he landed with Black Cat as a way to be like, I can be a guy as well as all power and responsibility.
I just always thought it was so interesting that how Marvel and DC from time to time really can just mirror each other. So it's like, you know what? We're going to take the top defender of quote-unquote New York, and we're going to have him date a cat burglar-esque anti-hero villain that, like, kind of whoops his ass, but also like loves him, and he's kind of into it.
The black latex, and he's like, I support, crime only right here.
I'm literally imagining like me and you now going out in the streets and just living mirrored versions of each other's lives, Like you go out like a great date with your lady and have a good time, and all of a sudden like I'm serious and in like a toxic relationship, we come in. I was just like, you out here getting gains and I'm out here getting gains. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a full.
I'm just training to be in Punisher season 6.
Same, different, but same.
Dude, this news maybe my favorite announcement since we saw Toby's dick bring back the 3 Spider-Man. Like this might be my favorite of
God, this is.
It might be.
This is why Christian didn't let us do this show by ourselves.
This is like as an adult. He's like, I need to be in the room.
Well, if you're wondering what we're talking about, y'all, it has been confirmed that Jon Bernthal will be returning as the Punisher for Daredevil Born Again. Now, the news broke yesterday. Well, it's Friday, so it broke Wednesday that he would be returning as Frank Castle, a.k.a. The Punisher, for Daredevil Born Again. According to Comic Book Movie, there's been talk of Jon Bernthal potentially reprising his role of The Punisher for the now-defunct Netflix shows for quite a while. But the rumors really began to pick up steam following the MCU's debut of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as Daredevil and Kingpin, respectively. The news finally broke that Frank Castle will indeed be making his presence felt in the MCU, and Bernthal has responded to the announcement by sharing the following image on his Instagram account of him toning them to, it looks like those were the Uzis he was using at the time, or the Tech 9s, actually, and just kind of going off. Now he's going to be playing his role once again as Castle for the Disney Plus series Daredevil Born Again, as we mentioned before, but we don't have any details yet on how he'll be reintroduced. Now, Bernthal has previously made it clear that he has no interest in playing a watered-down version of the Punisher, which may indicate that this show will have a bit more edge to it than the streamer's usual MCU output. So, Coy, you hear the news. Bernthal is back, bro. How you feeling, man?
So I think this is as much a reaction to either the bad press that they're going through or the actual show is reacting. So it could be a matter of, let's announce Jon Bernthal. It's been locked from the jump. And let's get some good press out there. Or it could be a matter of, hey, we looked at what we've been doing. We listened to the fans. We're actually going to retool a lot of what Daredevil is foundationally. We're going to change the show. Because I do believe that Jon Bernthal has too much integrity as a man, an actor, and as Punisher to come back and do something he doesn't believe in.
Absolutely.
Like, there's no reason. He's set. Like, there's nothing that he needs to do. Like, Jon Bernthal's in a good spot with his career. So unless the script is good and unless, like, it's doing Frank justice, because I think that, honestly, season 1 was exceptional, like up there with Daredevil all 3 seasons, but season 2 was a bigger drop down for me than any of the other seasons. Like, as far as just like an A+ down to a C feels way worse than a BBC.
I need to go revisit because I didn't watch Daredevil 3, Jessica Jones 3, or I only got through like 4 episodes of Punisher just because I don't remember what was going on, but I just got distracted. It was really good. It was
like a C+, B-, but I thought season 1 was like an A+. So
yeah, I just got off track. So I need to go back and visit it, but I will agree that all of those castings were really well done. With the exception of Iron Fist. His was, in my opinion, probably the best. I think he probably nailed his character. Not that Charlie Cox and Vincent, and Mike Coulter and Kristen Ritter didn't do incredible. They did.
Right.
They really did. He just really embodied Frank Castle for me so expertly. I don't really know.
I feel like Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter are all beautiful representation, adaptations, translations of the character. They all do a character, whereas Jon Bernthal, I feel like, is actually ripped from the page in a unique way. Like, his nose is broken the way that John Romita Jr. draws him. Like, he's literally almost so much the Punisher that he's one of the few actors where I have to kind of shake that. Yeah. Like, I look at Downey Jr. and I'm able to see Downey Jr. because I loved him in Chaplin and, the other, the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and those things. Yeah. But I still sometimes when I hear him, Tony Stark happens and I have to work at it. Yeah. And I think Bernthal is a similar level of casting as Downey, as Ryan Reynolds, as Liz Olsen. There's like a certain, like, oh my God, you're the character.
I get you, but to be honest with you, all of those characters, I actually think that how do I put it? They don't, I agree that they don't match necessarily what they were in the books, but I don't think you're going to get any closer than what you see there. So I don't even necessarily translate it to they're doing their own rendition. I just genuinely was like, okay, like that matches up directly, because I think they did the same thing with Samuel L. Jackson, because prior to him coming out in Iron Man, that's when they started, if I remember correctly, the Ultimate Verse of Nick Fury became the black
where Brand Hitch drew him as Nick.
Exactly. Versus the older white dude with the
Hasselhoff.
Exactly. But I agree with you. I think that this has been known for a while by the MCU. I think that they very much had this in their back pocket. I think it would have been a much stronger reveal and a hype machine to have said nothing, and you wait until maybe the last trailer and you just see like the logo coming out of like the shadows being like, I guess we're gonna have to kill somebody. I don't know, whatever.
But that's why I think they need, like, this is a year out. I think they need some good press. I think there's no better press than the GOAT.
But that's what I agree with you, is I think that they bought them some time with She-Hulk when Charlie Cox did show up. They tried to use that way too early because you still had like 4 or 5 episodes before he even showed up. Longer than that,
and
actually.
Made it the show.
Right.
That was the issue, is like it became the Where's Daredevil show to the point where they had to put it in the show.
Absolutely. And so like you had both that, but you notice when that happened, in the same way that with Hawkeye, the minute Vincent D'Onofrio showed up there, the minute Charlie Cox showed up in No Way Home, what it did to energize people.
Yeah.
I agree that while Ant-Man is still doing fine, it did not do what they wanted it to do.
I honestly
really
think
took kind of a little bit of a nosedive, and people are starting to hit the panic button. And I think that they tried to be like, okay, calm down.
I think it's an overreaction of people reacting. I don't think Ant-Man is in a comfortable spot, but I don't think that one movie not making a lot of money, and maybe even losing a little money, because it might, is a, oh my God, we've made 37 of these and they're all failing. Like, we've had way more goodwill built up to this point, and I think they just needed to go like, let's plug the hole.
No. I agree with you, but I remember, just while we have felt how we felt about Phase 4 as a general whole, people have just not taken to it, and for Ant-Man not to feel like it hit it out of the park to start Phase 5, I think that you're at that point now. If you're in a relationship, and like your girl's your girl's like, stop doing this thing. Stop doing this thing. That's the last time I'm gonna tell you to stop doing this thing. Yeah. We're at that point now. If they have another situation where it is so mixed, it's not bringing the dollars it's meant to.
That's why the Marvels is high stakes. Because Guardians is gonna feel like James Gunn leaving, and it's gonna feel like the end of the Guardians, and it's gonna do well. I think almost no matter what, and I think it's gonna be exceptional no matter what.
Yeah.
But then the Marvels is kind of Phase 5 movie 2.
Yes,
to me.
No, I agree with you, and that's the other thing. Just to that point, y'all, is that like I'm not saying that like Marvel is about to just fully implode. That's not that like Coy has said, we have built way too much of this up at this particular point for it is too big to truly fail. But if you start losing this ability to actually push back on a lot of the filmmakers that are like, it's not cinema, it's not art, it's like whatever, and now it's actual dribble, and you're not ever crossing the $1 billion marker again, you're still hitting high millions, but you're never crossing that billion again. They have kind of built a lot of where they are now off of what this is doing. You think about the Disneyland and Disney World expansions, how a lot of those are more Marvel based than anything. You brought in Avengers Campus, but you added like the Guardians rides. There's 2 of them. The Escape one, and then there's the Rewind Time one, or whatever it is. Like, you are continuing to use Marvel as your anchor point right now, especially because your live action Disney stuff is doing okay. It's not doing what you want. Star Wars is
at least 2 years out from the movie.
Star Wars ain't ready.
3. And Celebration's taking a year off, I think, to recalibrate everything. So Disney is putting a lot on Marvel, I agree. But if you look at this announcement, it's the best possible one. Like, I'm more excited for Bernthal coming back than Downey or Chris Evans coming back.
No. I agree with that.
Because that comes with plot problems.
Well, I mean, it does with that. Not really. Remember, you got a multiverse.
Yeah, but I think that we've talked about how that undermines the arc that was the first 3 phases. Like,
I don't disagree, but the way they come back, they can't come back in the same capacity. So
but if they come back in human flesh, it's gonna feel like, oh, they're alive. Like, it's not. You're not gonna. There's no way a human being that looks at Downey Jr. goes, oh, but that's a different Iron Man, and feels that in their fucking soul.
I disagree, only because I think about Multiverse of Madness, even though that's not my favorite movie. Literally, John Krasinski just chilling there. Literally, Black Bolt.
But that was played by a different actor.
No, I understand that, but like Black Bolt being there, the same actor from Inhumans.
But you didn't have a lot of investment in Inhumans, I assume.
I watched the whole thing because my homeboy was Gorgon in it.
Sure. But it's not the same as Iron
Man. People. No. I get that, but I'm saying if it's a capacity where it's like, same with Patrick Stewart, they're here for a minute, but they did not stay. So like, again, we're all anticipating potentially them showing up in Secret Wars, where we do get a variant of Tony, and we only get him for like a movie and some change at most. But that would make sense.
Oh, it'll make canon sense, but I think plot-wise, it'll undermine the 3-act structure we had through 3 phases of film, to the point where when I saw Patrick Stewart in the movie, I didn't go, oh, that's a different one than the one that I saw die in Logan. I went, man, they needed Patrick Stewart. Like, I didn't feel like it was a variant. I felt like this movie needed Xavier, so they didn't care about him dying. Like, I mean, like in the comics, when something comes back, you're not whoa.
Yeah, well, no, but that's the thing. Personally, I don't think you undermine it as long as it's not permanent. It needs to be very temporary. It needs to be a situation where it's like, or a completely different role. So if you would had the theory that the AI for Riri will ultimately be Tony, similar to like what happens,
and it won't feel tangible.
Right.
And that's a key.
Right, and then you're kind of getting to eat, have your cake and eat it too, and that's something that's straight from the comics as well.
And the Steve Rogers did I say my Stan Lee Steve Rogers thing? Having as we get old man Steve start slowly through movies, make the Steve Rogers age, the old one, the '90s one, look more and more like Stan Lee. So that way, all the Stan Lee cameos are canon as Steve Rogers looking over his people through time.
That's actually hilarious.
So every time you saw Stan, it was Steve looking out for everybody.
That's actually really funny.
So you just like over the course of 5 movies start to deep fake Chris into Stan.
That's crazy. I mean I don't hate the plan, man.
And when they talk, it's Steve wouldn't know what he looked like at 90. So it's a way for him to like check in on the Avengers through time, and that fixes a lot of people being mad that he stopped like checking in because he's been there since Stan's been there.
Well, talking about more checking in and kind of seeing where people are at, there was another story kind of tied to Daredevil Born Again that Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wool are not expected to return as Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. Now, obviously, we were talking just now about Jon Bernthal and Frank Castle, this again from Comic Book Movie, being in Born Again. But it looks like 2 other supporting characters from the now-defunct Netflix show will not be joining. According to THR's Aaron Couch, Deborah Ann Wool and Eldon Henson, who played Karen Page and Foggy Nelson respectively, are not on the roll call for the Marvel series, and it is unclear whether those characters will be recast. So the rumors that both actors were set to reprise their roles did the rounds last year, but it may have been yet another case of internet grifters throwing possibilities at the wall to see if it would stick. Now, both Foggy and Karen are pretty significant parts of the Matt Murdock's life in the comics, although they don't feature in every story, and even so, it would be seen as a somewhat unusual move if they didn't factor into Born Again in some capacity, so they may well be recast. So, again, Coy, I'll just start off in the fact that this bums me out. I appreciate what Henson did, but I am a massive Deborah Ann Wool fan.
Same.
I have been that way since I, was first introduced to her on True Blood way back in the day. Like, I'm madly in love with this woman. But she has been so key. Her and Rosario Dawson have been so key to like kind of being the connecting bridge for a lot of these characters in these Netflix shows, which has been really cool. But obviously been a huge part of Cox's Murdoch and how he's operated through the world. So you hear that the 2 of them aren't coming back. You got Bernthal, you got D'Onofrio, but you don't have these 2. How do you feel?
Honestly, I think they're coming back. This is a year out, and I imagine they'd be in at least a couple of the arcs, but in a capacity where they could hide them. Yeah. I think Bernthal's going to be shooting outdoor scenes, and they had to get ahead of it because they're about to start shooting. I think that Deborah Ann Wool and Foggy are going to be in courtrooms, and therefore you don't have to show them. So that's what you do in that last trailer. You don't have that revealed. That way you have some pocket aces. And I honestly think that if you recast them, it'll alienate the experience of the excitement of bringing back the other characters. Because I understand that they're saying that like they might not be the Charlie Cox of that universe, and that this is a different Daredevil. But even Charlie Cox's statements on it feel like they're navigating it in real time. Like I don't know how firm they are on that. And I definitely enjoyed Charlie Cox's different, more comedic Mark Waid acrobatic flavor of Daredevil more than I enjoyed D'Onofrio's more comic-y take. Sure. So I think right now Marvel's going, okay, people were mixed on phase 4. What worked, what didn't? When we're going into phase 5, when we're making an 18-episode series, we're going to keep what's worked and we're not going to keep what hasn't. I could see reacting to the negativity of Ant-Man and the negativity of Eternals, which I love, but the negativity of some of these films that they were doubling down on. What if this allows us to get a darker overall R-rated TVMA or approaching it because they're like, hey, this audience was huge on Netflix. We're now 17 years into the MCU by this point. So, or 16, I think it'll be. But 16 years in, that means that, 4-year-olds are 20. So you make this show dark and you allow the show to be the thing. Because Punisher coming back, this could spell a different Born Again than they had even announced at D23. Because they are filming it in real time.
No, you're right. I do think that's the one thing that Disney has been very careful about ever giving us any R-rated installments.
Deadpool
and I know we're getting Deadpool 3 in that regard, but just in the fact that since it all connects and part of what has made it successful is they have found, while it may live in that 18 to 30 male category, they have found a franchise that is able to reach everyone. You're selling the toys to the kids and they're getting involved. You've got older folks being like, oh, that was pretty good. Like, you know, you got boyfriends taking their girlfriends. You got the girlfriends being like, you gonna watch this with me too? And be like, I don't even like that. I just watch football.
Right.
You know, like everybody comes to these movies and watches these shows at this point. So there's always a weird line where it is easier for adults to go and watch a Miss Marvel that might be more geared towards teenagers or young adults than it is to try and convince a parent to let their child go watch something super violent and grotesque, but it's still apparently vital for them to see. So, like, I think we're going to get a Dark Daredevil. I think we're going to get that opportunity to see some you know, more intense stories. But I can't imagine they're going to go full throttle. At least if they do, it would probably be in moments that, like, aren't vital, if that makes sense.
I think the Hulu thing that we're hearing is not a coincidence timing-wise. It sounds like Hulu might become a Universal company with Disney relinquishing their shares in order to get Namor and Hulk fully. And if that happens, then all of the movies on Hulu
you think they're gonna
have to go to Disney Plus.
They're going to release Hulu to Universal.
That's the rumor.
So as a trade, so wait a minute. So when you're talking about a trade here,
a trade happening.
We're gonna give you our star quarterback if you give us
the
2 first-round picks. Holy crap!
And if that happens, where do all the movies on Hulu have to go? Disney Plus, their streaming service.
Right.
You're gonna have R-rated TV. You're gonna have. I mean, Always Sunny's gonna be on Disney Plus. Look at the Boston Strangler poster. It's Boston Strangler Disney Plus logo at the bottom. We're starting that direction. It's weird to see. Like Keira Knightley under Boston Strangler. I'm like Disney, but I do think that Deadpool is the gateway. And Deadpool's right after this. What if we get all of these darker things on this network? Then why not have it be an R-rated show if they have R-rated shows on Disney Plus? Have the type in thing like we already have to do, like put our age in. And then like if you look at the Disney Plus shows, they're not nearly as connected yet as they said they were going to be. Look at Doctor Strange. Like we didn't have the zombie Strange from What If like we thought it was.
Well,
so I mean Loki's obviously connected, but like
I think we built too much into What If because What If was supposed to be kind of its own.
We were told it was supposed to be the connected.
Yeah, no, I know.
We were told. But think about it. What Miss Marvel is going to the Marvels. That's the first real big connection. Loki connects, but like if you watch Ant-Man Quantumania and didn't see Loki, you don't miss it.
Well,
He Who Remains is good to connect for us, but like you don't not understand who Kang is without that.
No. I agree with you. You didn't have to see Loki. It's essentially like, did you ever play Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah.
Did you ever play 5, the Phantom Pain?
I didn't.
Okay, so you gotta play.
I did play it.
It's very fun. So they did a prequel game that they released that had about like 4 hours of it was about a 4-hour little mini campaign. It was called Ground Zeroes, I believe. If you don't play Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain is still totally fine. But if you play Ground Zeroes, the amount of just like little things that like you're set up for to genuinely go is monumental. And I think that's the same thing with Loki. You didn't need to watch it, but what the context that it provides you, the little energy boost that it provides you going into Ant-Man Quantumania is vital.
But that might be the R-rated stuff. Is that DLC. Like, if you have Deadpool, reference the X-Men, but not introduce the X-Men, then it's going to enhance your X-Men experience. There's no way they're going to bring in the first new X-Men in Deadpool, likely, because that's going to be rated R, and that would alienate the X-Men audience that's going to be PG-13.
Right.
But if you've got certain things happen, like Hugh Jackman passing the torch to just Wolverine, the new Wolverine, or you've got certain other things that occurred that set up the X-Men world, that would be the DLC. Yeah. That would enhance the world. And likewise, Daredevil could be an R-rated, this is pipe dream, but Daredevil being an R-rated show might allow a more enhanced whatever's next that maybe kids can't watch.
Well, you want to talk about enhancements, bruh. I'm going to tell you how you can enhance yourself, y'all. And that right now, it brings us to our sponsor of the show, AG1 by Athletic Greens, y'all. We talk about this virtually every show because they're an incredible, incredible partner to The Big Thing, but not just for that reason. It is genuinely that freaking good. I'm trying to tell you, man, honestly. This is a situation where Christian found them first. He was trying it every day. He was telling us how much he loved it. Being able to get all those vitamins in one pack like that, Christian could not stop talking about it. He got us to try it, and we have been addicted. It has been so good. Christian likes to have it before his coffee. I personally take it before my workouts at this point. I have completely replaced pre-workout with Athletic Greens just because of that boost that it gives me. I genuinely feel so good getting in there. Like while I drink it while I'm getting my active stretching going, and I just feel my body just like come alive. It helps me keep my supplement routine going. I don't always eat as many vegetables as I should. It's one of the things that is so helpful for that. And it's the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself in under a minute. That's right. With every scoop packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and other whole food source ingredients. So if you're looking for an easier way to take your supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/big thing. That's athleticgreens.com/big thing and check it out. Again, that's for a free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Your body will thank you. I'm trying to tell y'all. Real talk. Thank you so much to our sponsor, AG1 Athletic Greens, for hooking it up, man. Be sure, like people ask all the time, Christian brings this up, if you're trying to figure out how you can support the show and you can't, just straight throw cash at us like we scrippers. Honestly, get the stuff that we have. Get the Athletic Greens. These are all products that we genuinely are trying. I know people love to try and come at Christian and be like, oh, stop trying to peddle stuff. Ain't no peddling. Like it was one of the few things that stayed behind us before the great flood of Los Angeles. So we genuinely use these products, and that is one of the ones that we can't speak more.
Also, dead serious. I gotta eat so much protein because I'm trying to gain like real pounds, like good pounds, and you don't always get like your veggies. You don't always get the things you need to balance out stuff. So it's been essential. I keep packets in my car so I can just throw it in a water bottle, shake it up, and be good to go. It's been good.
It's smart, man. So yeah, definitely please check out AG1. Absolutely love it. So let's hop into our next story. This is another MCU rumor that's coming through, but this one for Armor Wars. We know that used to be a show, but is now being moved into a movie. The rumor is that James Spader could be returning as Ultron in the Armor Wars film. Now, in the comic books, Ultron, this is again by comic book movie, Ultron was created by Hank Pym and ended up becoming one of the Marvel Universe's greatest villains. And no matter how many times he was defeated, the sinister android always found its way back into the world. Ultron even served as a cosmic baddie for a time against the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, taking all of that into account, it's hard not to feel like he might have been wasted in the MCU, despite being a fantastic villain in 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, making him a one-and-done baddie, closed the door on all manner of storytelling opportunities. Then again, we never did see the Vision kill his father. Now, with Vision Quest and Armor Wars on the horizon, theories have been running rampant for a while that Ultron could return in the not-too-distant future. According to information obtained by moderators in the Reddit Marvel Studios spoilers page, James Spader is indeed set to reprise the role of Ultron in Marvel Studios' Armor Wars movie. Now, original plans called for that to be a Disney Plus series, as we mentioned before, with the decision later made that the story was big enough for theaters. Ultron's return sounds about right then, and it's incredibly exciting to think about the many ways that he could factor in this story. Ultron is fresh in all of our minds following his what-if takeover and his threat to the entire multiverse. And after successfully inhabiting what would become the Vision's body in the MCU, he acquired the Infinity Stones and used them to fight the Watcher and almost destroyed everything if it weren't for Captain Carter's teams. What did they call them? The Guardians of the Multiverse? Yeah. Without the Guardians of Multiverse kind of stopping stuff. So only time will tell whether Spader really does come back as Ultron, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that it does happen. Coy, if we do actually end up with James Spader back as Ultron, what is this putting for you on like a level of like 1 to 10? Is this like a full on 10, like holy crap, I cannot wait, like it's always the Ultron's back, or is this like a 1, like okay, I guess so I don't give a damn?
Armor Wars was at like an 8 for me.
Okay.
Because to me it's like an Iron Man 4. To me it's Rhodey finally getting his time in the sun. That dude was supposed to have a number of spin-off movies and like just didn't get them. And I feel like legacy characters, when they're planted that early, are really special. So he's like the guy I want to see. So for me, Armor Wars is already pretty high. And I also want to see Sam Rockwell back more than anything, and I feel like that's going to happen there. Yeah. But I would put this closer to a 10 with the Ultron because I think James Spader is one of the villains that was the most underutilized hard stop, and I think Marvel's very good at pulling back the villains that they hear from the fans weren't used well. I think Taskmaster coming back in Thunderbolts is us getting a Taskmaster fix. I think there's certain villains that we've seen and been like, come on. Even spoiler alert for Quantumania, it's been out for 3 weeks. I think that I didn't like Yellow Jacket that much, but I love how Yellow Jacket landed because of Corey Stoll's performance as MODOK. So I think not only did we recently have it in What If, not only did they use Ultron in that VR experience at Marvel, which brought us back 2 years before, we've had a lot of Ultron, and this would make it an Age of Ultron instead of like the Week of Ultron. Because Avengers Week of Ultron was not a long enough age, and I didn't feel that ominousness. Even though Spader's performance was incredible, the character didn't get to flex enough. And I know he did a lot of things, but right now we're more topical about AI than ever. If you've got Ironheart coming in, you've got the tech versus magic wars coming with Doom, you've got all these things with Reed Richards. It'd be a really good time for the conversation about how much AI is used in Wakanda, how much it's used in New York. And I think Ultron allows for a different kind of techie scope, and it would allow for Armor Wars to have this like paranoid undercurrent in addition to just like Sam Rockwell button hits.
Well, and on top of the fact that if you have a situation where we do end up ultimately getting Tony Stark as an AI, because I think that that's the way that I truly believe that's the way that you bring back Robert Downey Jr. without really forcing him to be back
and sacrificing, in my opinion, a perfect ending.
Right. And on top of the fact that, like, you look at Paul Bettany, obviously, who was Jarvis for the longest time before becoming Vision, it's still a very engaged role, but like you're all VR.
Right.
Or VO, excuse me. So you can genuinely just kind of come in, do your lines when you need to do your lines and be out. Like,
and what is sentience if White Vision is separate from Vision?
Right.
And what is sentience if the ship of Theseus metaphor gets brought into Ultron?
Right.
If you're talking about sentience in the how many original parts do need remain in order to stay whole, and you've had a character stripped apart but also multiplied 1,000 times, what is Ultron to Ultron and what is White Vision to Ultron? Is that his son? Are they cousins?
No, for sure. What I was going to say is I think it then becomes interesting because remember, the one thing that Ultron in the MCU hated more than anything is his own fathers. He hates Tony Stark like with a violent passion, which in the comics, if I remember, even though it was technically Hank Pym's brainchild, wasn't it the working of Tony and Hank?
It was Hank as the father, and later on Ultron took over Hank's body. There's like a half cyborg Hank, but Tony was integral in like the tech allowing for his birth. And so Tony's more like the mother. Like he was the womb of the tech.
Which in this, the flip side of that was they made it Tony essentially played the role of Hank, and then Banner played the role of Tony as
in
far
a way.
as like the support.
And then also Thor was the you needed the power of Thor. So Thor was the sperm. So you have a whole triplet family. You got a threesome.
He was the sperm?
He was the thruple.
I would call him more like the surrogate.
I mean, you need that little zap.
But also, that was for Vision. He didn't zap Ultron.
Right, but without Vision, you don't have Ultron. Like, oh, no, you're right.
No,
he's Vision's sperm.
You're getting it back. You're getting it totally back.
I'm on that. What was our old sponsor? Blue.
I was going to say he was like the adoption agency.
Yeah, that's true. He was like the stepfather. Because Vision supplied the... Christian's going to love this episode.
Oh, God. God, I hate us. But I just genuinely think... I agree. Ultron is very similar to Brainiac on the DC side of things. Obviously, they have very similar this idea where one of the main characters, there's a close tying to it. Obviously, Brainiac was not invented by Clark, by Kal-El. There, depending on what story you're talking about, there's parts that Jor-El had some...
Sure, which I never loved. It's
it
very
is
Osborn basement Spider-Man, where it's like, bring out all the Sinister Six down here.
So regardless of when you would go, but the point is, what Brainiac is to Superman, what Ultron essentially is to, both Iron Man, Ant-Man, like the Avengers as a whole. He's that technological threat that you always think, we finally got rid of it. No, he wrote one backup code, and he just has a brand new plan to like ruin everything.
And I think we need that with villains because the Marvel problem in the beginning was they always killed their villains. Right. And we've fixed a lot of that. But at the same time, if you can bring back one that recurs in the comics and logically recurs, how do you get rid of internet? How do you get rid of code?
Well, my favorite, that's the thing. Did you watch either Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Avengers Assemble, both the animated shows? So, like, the fact that in Avengers Assemble, like, Thanos comes, they have this whole saga of them dealing with the Infinity Stones. They finally fight Thanos at full power and whatnot. And I believe it wasn't Vision. Tony had a robot that his dad made for him, Arsenal, that was supposed to like that was holding on to the stones because it could deal with infinite power. But there was a back door that Ultron happened to write his code into.
Boom,
and the
Infinity
minute he
Ultron.
got the stones, he goes, "Oh, you screwed up, Tony, because it's me, Ultron." And then he's just like, Ultron World. And it's like, oh my God. Like,
and that's the character. You can have those moments and they're not out of nowhere. They're not like Deus Ex Machinas. Right. Ironically, the Ghost in the Machine is Ultron, so it's not a Deus Ex Machina.
Right.
But it works for the story because I would like to see Armor Wars have an undercurrent of threat. Also, that adds into the paranoia that we're going into. We've got Secret Invasion, we've got Thunderbolts, we've got Miss Marvel's end scene. We need that undercurrent of the world that hates and fears them. We need people to distrust heroes. Ultron would allow for that.
I mean, again, like you said, if you end up in a situation, you have White Vision kind of running around right now, there is a very easy way that, like, if we get engaged with White Vision, if we somehow are using that to eventually get regular Viz back at some point, that again, Viz is part Jarvis, but he's part Ultron code as well. So like, there's no reason that you couldn't have pulled that out and inadvertently rebooted Ultron into a new version. So I'm excited about it one way or the other, man. I can't wait to see what we ultimately end up doing. So we got to do what? One more. I know you have to go soon, right?
But you can do one without me.
You have it. So go ahead. You can do this one, man.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys a story straight from my phone. I saw a tweet that blew my mind. Responding to a tweet with a KR1S1S9302, if that is your real name, he asked, how much of the Chapter 1 slate did you tell us about to James Gunn? Shockingly, James Gunn responded, and I think these 3 words are as big a 3 words as I am inevitable in the MCU. In the DCU, James Gunn is inevitable because he responded less than half. That is bananas. I don't have a bunch of stuff to read about it because those 3 words are what matter. 3 words, less than half. He revealed 12 properties, which means if he's being cheeky like he was about January and reveals it January 31st, even if that's cheeky, that means 25 properties. If you double that plus 1 just to make it less than, 25 properties in Chapter 1 is bananas. So is that Chapter 1 being a 5-year saga?
I see what you did there. I was gonna assume that it was like 26, because if you had 12, okay, put 1, you're at 13, then double it. But it depends.
You could literally be like less than that one. Because if you cut 25
semantics that nobody is here for, so we're just gonna go back to what you were talking about. But
give me some math.
But if you think about it, there was a number of things that were brought up. Like, we have been told about this Themyscira, like, Amazon show. We don't know if Wonder Woman's involved in it because it's supposed to be before, if I remember correctly, before she actually leaves the island. So whether or not she's around, who knows?
I assume Wonder Woman is one of the new 13 plus.
That's what I'm thinking. So that's a big one.
I think Zatanna's in there.
I wouldn't be surprised with that. We don't have any news about, yes, we still have the Aquaman movie coming out, but we don't really know what's going on. So maybe that's the thing. There have been the rumors of Lobo. There's been rumors of Static Shock like before Gunn came in. So whether or not that's potentially happening one way or the other.
There's also new Static comics that are really good right now. Yes, and that's not a coincidence because they've even said the comics are going to be more tied in than ever. I think Static is... I'd put like an 85, 90%. Like, I'd put Static as high as Zatanna and the magic element.
If some people are going to try and like be like, oh, why it'll be about black shit. If I guess there's the one swear, it's deep enough in the episode, we should be all right.
As the white guy today, I'm excited for Static Shock.
But thank you. But I just mean in this. I just mean in the sense it would behoove DC to lean on those super popular standard white guy characters, because again, look at what Black Panther did.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Look at what Creed just did.
Well, obviously, but
like, just talking... look, Creed's numbers, while things are in a weird spot, I think the industry's weirder now than it was when Black Panther 1 came out.
No.
I think Creed is a real testament to, hey, make an incredible movie about voices that need to have their voices amplified, and is a story that I, like Coy, wants to see 100 times, because it's important to me, but it's even more important to people that aren't.
No. I agree with you. I was just even thinking just within the superhero scope.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Just in the sense that, like, regardless of what you want to say about Captain Marvel, whether you liked it or not, it still did a Billy. Like, let's be real about that. So you've learned, any smart studio exec has learned that this is a game that everyone wants to be a part of. So it would only behoove you to look at those characters that will bring everyone in, period, especially these characters that have built a name for themselves and is only going to further bring an audience, every button to the seat. So then when you do decide to eventually bring a Justice Society or a Justice League back, everybody's there because they're like, yo, that's my dude, that's my dude, that's my girl, that's my girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would only be smart for them to do that. I don't think you come out of the gate with it. I think that was smart to save that for, let's see how this first stuff goes, because you did include a Superman, you included a Batman with a Robin, because we've been asking for that since the Schumacher stuff. We've been asking for a Robin and it never came to fruition.
2 Green Lanterns, one of which is Jon Stewart. But I do think it's really smart to come out of the gate with like, hey, we know you want lanterns, not lantern, and also we're going to do a show and make it long form.
And on top of that, regardless of how you feel one way or the other about the end of Snyder's Justice League, having Martian Manhunter, I think, is a huge thing too that people would be wanting to see at some point. And that, again, we haven't announced it yet, but there's always the room for that to come in a little bit later. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's 25 properties? We're just going to use 25 because it's a nice clean number. If it's 25 properties, do you think it's 25 properties over 5 years, or do you think we literally get monthly DC between TV and film for
I think the 5 years are going to be the 12 he's announced. I think that he's just saying that chapter 1 will not close until we do another whatever. So I think what you're going to get is, as you're getting closer to the end of that 12, maybe around like 10, then it's like, well, we're kind of wrapping up stuff. So what's next, you say? Like, you finished Brave and the Bold, you finished Woman of Tomorrow. Like, what do we do now? Boom. And then here it is. Like, here's
so you think they don't reveal any more until these start popping out?
I think it'd be super stupid. I think part of what has bought James Gunn a lot of grace right now is the fact sorry, the dude got in here.
Always a moment.
I know. Is the fact that you did not overload people, because if things don't go right, how do you wiggle out of it? You already see how Marvel is attempting to make a pivot because they announced so much, and then they're like, okay, we're prematurely ending Phase 4 because it wasn't supposed to end with Wakanda.
And I really think they had a lot of faith in Ant-Man kicking off things with Kang, and now they're like, oh, the thing we put our bets on.
Did you watch the video I sent you?
Which one?
I sent one to you and Christian.
The guy's points?
Yeah.
I liked most of them.
Okay, well, but including like specifically how they were saying it seems like they really retooled Ant-Man, knowing that they were making this Phase 4, Phase 5 kind of pivot.
Yeah.
Seems like they really retooled it to be like, we really need Leon Kang right now. If we give them their big bad, then like maybe they'll feel some type. And obviously Jonathan Majors was phenomenal.
Yeah, that wasn't the issue.
Right. But it was very interesting how that story originally seemed to, like, based off of what he was guessing, how it seemed to kind of line up originally, and this big pushback between cats, because it even felt like, and I agree, it did feel like a situation where it would have made more sense for Hope and Scott to be trapped, and then you give Cassie something to do to try and save her parents, essentially, her dad and her stepmom.
It would have been good if that movie ended in a way where there was any consequence going forward beyond.
Absolutely.
Because like the issue is, if you watch most Marvel movies, you do need to have seen some of them before.
Yes.
But this one, which is supposed to be the kickoff and introduce our big bad, I don't think there's any single event that occurs where you need to have seen this movie, especially if you've seen Loki. And that's not good to kick off a phase. So I think they are realigning. I think that with our Daredevil conversation ties into that. But in the DC vein, I also think the strength of what James Gunn is doing is I don't think they're going to need to have watched everything. I think there's going to be a universe that's shared, but also there are going to be things like the Batman and Joker, but other things that haven't even been revealed to be out of continuity Elseworlds.
Yeah.
So like, we've talked about how the Authority is going to be in universe. I guarantee there's going to be stuff that are in these unreleased numbers that aren't within the same continuity as Batman, Superman, etc. And that's so exciting. I think Swamp Thing might be rated R. I think there might be things that are surprising people, because if he got to make the Suicide Squad rated R when they were under the old Authority, pun intended, then there's no way they're not going to experiment with R-rated stuff, and that's going to push Marvel, and that's going to then push DC, and that's going to push this slate. So I think we might get a movie or two announced at Comic-Con, but I don't think it's going to be the other half.
No, I don't think the other half too. I think just part of it. And I know you got to run.
I got a boogie.
So there's one last story. You got to be there at 12:30, right?
I got to be on the other side of town at 12:45. I can do 2 more minutes.
Okay, we'll do this quick then.
Okay.
So there is one more story that came out that Avengers Kang Dynasty writer reveals whether the X-Men are going to appear in an upcoming event movie. During the rounds to promote Quantumania, Jeff Loveness recently suggested he has no plans to include Phase 5 characters like Blade and Fantastic Four in the Kang Dynasty. First Family not factoring into the story, but this is going to be an Avengers movie and not a Fantastic Four one. Loveless has now made clear the Kang Dynasty won't be where we meet the X-Men for the first time. So I don't really get in the quote. That's enough. That was from comic book movies.
That's really interesting that he came out and said Blade, Fantastic Four, and Phase 5 characters won't necessarily be in Kang Dynasty, because that almost implies a Shang-Chi situation where like Shang-Chi introduced him, but like Wong was there, but he didn't really associate. And I think that was the strength of that film, is it didn't feel beholden to the whole greater tapestry. So hopefully the lesson learned is let Blade be a Blade movie.
It should.
And like, because that first Blade is arguably how we got here.
All of those movies, in my opinion, they need to be about themselves.
Right.
Let them live in their own, because I think that was the one complaint a lot of people had with Spider-Man, is you made it so, like, Iron Man was so intricately involved. I didn't think it was as much as people always like to
He just kind of became Spider-Man, which I like a 6-film origin now, but I remember being bothered by the fact I'm like, it doesn't have a lot of the elements. So if you let Blade be Blade, but it's interesting that Kang Dynasty, if they make it the Kang movie that I hear it is, that like, you know, Jonathan Majors is the lead of this movie, I wouldn't want a character I just met to be a scene filler. Or like that'd be disrespectful, or to sacrifice the characters we want to see involved with these time hijinks, because we've lived with them for 5 phases.
No, I agree with that, man. So Coy, tell them where you're at, man. What you got going on, bro?
You can hunt me down at Coy Jandreau on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, trying to grow that YouTube out. I'm approaching 20K, you guys. I'm very excited about that. I'm doing those first reactions that Christian inspired me to do, walking out of the theater going, hey, this movie. And it's been fun because I actually like walking out of theater, talking to people, and like the chaos of it, it gives me energy. So hunt those down. And I'm really excited about the future of DC and Marvel. I know that a lot of negativity is the internet right now, but I think the Jon Bernthal announcement and other announcements are a testament to Marvel going, hey, we've earned your trust. We're going to earn it even more. Please take these with goodwill. And very excited about the Bernthal announcement in particular, because I do think he's one of the best casting decisions of all time. So I remember Save Daredevil being an unbelievable effort, us thinking that would never happen. And now not only has it happened, but it's happening with Jon Bernthal and D'Onofrio. And I think Foggy and Karen as well. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Wow, that was the longest exit.
You know what? I said 2 minutes. I wanted to make him about me. All of the X-Men, they don't matter. It's about my YouTube.
You know where to find me. I'm the Swaggy Blurred here on YouTube, on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Please be sure to follow me over there. Got some good stuff rolling here. Obviously here with Capes and Cowls with Christian and Coy every Friday. But over on my channels, man, lots of comedy stuff going off. Reviews of both Bel Air Season 2. And other stuff going on my channel. So please come say what's up, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, we've gone through it before, man. Y'all know, make sure you're on our Patreon, the Spotify, the merch, all that good stuff here on the Christian Harloff channel. We are trying to get it up to 70K. 70K is what we're trying to get to, and we're getting so close. So please be sure to do all that. We got nothing but love for you, mother Fs. We will see y'all next week on Capes and Cowls. Peace!